Took that one in for you, big boss.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I take a hit for that man, Akira Toriyama.
This is something that deeply saddens the anime community and not necessarily sure of how to continue. But I do want to go ahead and sit down, have a talk with you guys about how this sort of turn of events kind of feels to the two of us personally. And what I mean by the two of us personally, allow me to introduce to you guys my good best friend that I have known for practically more than half my life. And you've seen him in quite a few of all of my videos. Goes by the gamer tag known as NPC Drip.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's happening, everybody? Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Be on the lookout for my future channel that should be going up sometime soon. So featuring me and my cousin and probably friends and all that. Definitely will too. I'm here joining you to talk about the tragedy of losing Akira Toriyama and all that, and just discuss with my homie here about it. So I'm gonna let him take it up from there.
Man, I don't even know where exactly to begin with this. It almost seems like it's so unreal. Like, if you could recall back to the time when Kobe has passed away, it's just like it felt so unreal. I remember coming to school the following Monday and just I could tell seeing some of my homies they is not doing so well. And so
Yeah,
it's just like the whole it's like everything just comes to a stop once you lose someone that's important to you, whether it's family member, someone who's extremely important to you, a friend, father figure. And who's to say that Akira Toriyama was not a father figure to the whole anime community and how he has influenced the whole world?
or just in general, like an inspiration to like a lot of people. Especially since like he was the main one that pretty much a lot of other popular anime and manga creators took inspiration from and decided to make their own series from.
Yeah, and very soon, me myself included. Because I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the first one that I watched, and I'm gonna get into that later. But however, it's definitely one that sticks with me, and it sticks with a lot of people as well. Growing up, having a childhood, and watching anime, that's essentially what the whole entire peak of it was. It's essentially what was the start to giving anime its name and its title and the popularity that comes with that.
Yeah, I'm sure I done made. I'm sure I done watched. That was probably one of my first animes I done watched. Without even realizing it was an anime when I was younger, because I thought like I first started like watching like anime when I was like 10. But when I think about it, like shoot, Dragon Ball was on like way back in the day on kids channels and all that. So I was the first ever anime I actually like for real watched. That and Naruto. I didn't really like. I liked Naruto for a little bit, but I was messing with Dragon Ball more at the time. So, and I seen that first. So Dragon Ball is definitely the first for me when I think back on it. Even though I never really realized it when I was young.
Listen, if there was ever someone who was, if there's like a whole family tree of everything. For me personally, within my own household, it was Dragon Ball was considered the father figure. Naruto comes along and it's like that father figure has a child.
Yeah, nah, definitely. With the big three being Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece, they all took inspiration from the man Akira Toriyama with the big one. And yes, I'm calling the big one. People may not agree or not like it, but truth is that all of your favorite creators that created your animes and mangas got inspiration from him, at least for the most part. And that would be Akira Toriyama, my boy, with Dragon Ball. So he is the big one. He came out with his series first way back. Then over time we got I'm not sure exactly like, the timeline exactly of which came first, but soon after, like later on that time we got Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. Probably One Piece came first, I'm pretty sure. But
One Piece
yeah.
definitely went ahead and came out first.
I think it was possibly One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto. Because I think Naruto was like the latest one. But those are the ones that came out all around a similar time frame. Whereas you know, Dragon Ball came out way back, so that's definitely one that started a lot of everything.
Yeah, it definitely was. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't any others that was also a part of that. Because
Yeah,
I do believe that
it's
we
just that.
also had Sailor Moon as well. Can't forget about
Well,
that one.
yeah, yeah, of course. But it's just like now Sailor Moon was the popular one, but like when we're talking about like more like action style stuff that like inspired the rest of like that action genre, bro. Definitely
It's
Dragon Ball.
definitely Dragon Ball that was the golden standard.
Yeah,
Even so, continuing on with Dragon Ball Z as well. It was the golden standard. It was what laid the foundation for everything because Akira Toriyama knew that fighting was awesome. And considering the fact that wrestling is the oldest sport throughout history, and for the most part, I'm not sure if it's current day, but there was a time, maybe like a couple years ago, it was like the highest paid athlete was a boxer. Now, that may not be true today. I have not looked at any statistics recently. But however, there's definitely one point in time in which case the highest paid athlete was a boxer. Wrestling is the oldest sport. One thing that we enjoy a lot is fighting, and Akira Toriyama knew that. Now, my good friend, one question I do wish to ask of you is what does anime mean to you specifically?
well, if you'd ask me, I'd say anime is a good I would say a good in between, like for like telling great stories that like show like things you wouldn't ever get to see on for say live action unless you use extreme CGI, which can be very expensive, while also like tapping into that like younger fan base of like maybe teenagers and all that, or possibly depending on the story, even kids and all that. Because for me, you have live action, which is more for like, depending on the series, more so for like adults and teenagers maybe, but like more so targeted towards adults. And like they and like with at least in my mind, live action this is limited to what you can do unless you have a lot of money for CGI to show what you want to show in your series. And then when it's more like American cartoons and all that, or even like Americanized adult cartoons, depending on how it's made, at least most of the time, like those do have some good little stories depending on what they're talking about and what the series is about. But when we like talking about a good in between, I say anime is the way to go, and it obviously shows, seeing as more Western, you know, people like us in America and all that are starting to now like tell like these stories in like an anime art form, because like at least in my eyes, you can tell a really good story and do a lot and show a lot more with it being animated, while also like delving deeper into those like more deeper, maybe darker or like just more adult themes. And even if you want as well, you can also target towards children as well. So it fits regardless, and like a good little comfort zone of being able to be like shown towards children, teenagers, and adults, because it's fitting, because it's like animated, but still like the style of it, depending on how you draw it, makes it like, different, and can set the tone differently, especially depending on what type of story you want to tell. So for me, I think at least anime is a good way of like telling a story that otherwise couldn't have been told in like a different way through live action or just like as a cartoon, because it has more of a human style to it with the drawings that look more human, but also like it's still animated, so you can still show more. So for me, I think it's just a great way of telling a story, and like being able to show what you want to show without like, sacrificing a lot for, like, I would say, live action with how much expensive CGI is, or making a kids show, because that thing is like the good in between, that was where like the art style looks good, and the story you can tell can be like either for kids or for adults. So I think it's a good little in between on, like, all fronts, a good all arounder, if I would say, which makes it, for like, when you get into it, good for everybody. And as we've seen as of years, people used to get talked about for like watching anime and liking it. Even I used to. But now it's so mainstream and popular that it's like everybody likes it. And if you don't, then you're considered kind of weird. So it's like it was bound to happen. And the proof is in the pudding right there. You know, Anime is just a good all rounder and has something for everybody if they choose to look into it.
Okay, that is a very interesting answer. Hmm. I would say that is probably something that's more or less quite it definitely differs from my answer as to what anime means to me. Because I don't see anime as just a simple cartoon.
Yeah, nah, I'm not saying it's a cartoon. I'm saying, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can do like a lot more with it, because it has an animated art style to it. But it's not limited towards like, being a kid's little cartoon and all. There's like more to it, but because of the animated style, you can do more with it. Is what I'm saying. That's all.
I see. But going back to what anime means to me, at least,
Yeah, yeah. Let's hear what you got.
I would definitely like to say that anime is one such media that is that has created its own definition within every other form of media,
That's true.
because there are action movies, there are comedy movies, and there are like horror movies
And
within
everything in
anime.
between.
Right, right. The other the other subgenres of media as well. Anime has fallen underneath that that unique rule, where it's like anime and cartoon are kind of like within the same, but however they differ in many different ways. Because with cartoons, there isn't necessarily a there's a script, but however there aren't really any books to that they come from. Like anime
Hmm.
primarily is come from the book format, and anime could also be short for animation, so it shouldn't be a surprise where it got its name from.
Yeah, and I would say cartoons are more of like a thing that's more targeted towards children. Whereas in my statement, I said that anime on the other hand can be targeted to any audience and demographic.
Right, because there are action anime, there's romance anime, there's comedy anime, fantasy,
Hmm.
and horror. These are just different subgenres within the form of anime.
And they got everything in between all of those, including the ones for the little degenerates out there that like to see freaky stuff. Yeah, we know who y'all are out there, and it's okay. Just don't do too much.
That is a very interesting statement to say. But getting back upon the topic of everything within this on video,
Hmm.
now when Toriyama passed away, there was a part of me that was quite sad because I actually would have liked to meet him in person. And there's definitely questions or something that I would have liked to ask of him.
Yeah, you definitely told me that, which was a surprise to me. So I was like, man, you thought you was just gonna meet the man? That's crazy. But everybody does have their dreams, and it wouldn't be a bad one to meet him one day, if at all was possible.
I would like to tell him how much of a fan I am of him and his work and the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole. I have spent roughly over a couple thousand hours playing Xenoverse 2, and even more thousands of hours playing the OG Dragon Ball games like Dragon Ball Budokai 3, Tenkaichi 2.
Yeah, I remember playing those like the Tenkaichi series too, but never had I had never owned them. I only think I played like a couple of them, and I forgot when I got to play them. For me, like the first one I ever owned was Xenoverse 2, and that's because I missed out on Xenoverse 1. And I remember when I first seen Xenoverse 2, like heard about it. I heard it was coming out soon, and I was wondering if I should get Xenoverse 1 or wait until I got Xenoverse 2. And I decided I should wait because it was gonna come out so soon apparently. And when that came out, man, oh man, me and the homie Will was on that mug for who knows how long until I lost my save data and had to start all over. But definitely spent hours and days in that game for a very extended long period of time. We still play it to this day, as you can see on the pre-recorded footage. Yo, you there?
I'm sorry.
You going to edit that part out? But go ahead.
Um, no, I just had to mute my mic. I got a text message, very important text message.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get edit that part out though. You feel me? So
Uh,
like it can go right straight back
well,
to it. But yeah, go ahead.
anyways, getting back into everything. Um, I would like to ask you, since you brought up the fact that you played Xenoverse 2 first.
Yeah, that's well. Nah, I've played the other book Tenkaichi series. This is like Universe Two is the first one I owned. First Dragon Ball game I ever owned and got.
Okay. Now I understand.
Yeah,
So, I want to now that I have that cleared out, kind of wanted to ask you this one question. How would you rank the Dragon Ball franchise in order?
like series wise.
Yes.
Okay, for me, I would have to say Z is top number one because I will say that I've never finished the series completely, but like over time, I already like figured out how the series goes to the point that like I already knew everything that happened in the series. And from what I did see when I did get to watch it, I loved it. And that was like by far like at least like where the most coolest stuff happened in the show for me. And then now as for two, I'm probably gonna have to say Super because I know some people may disagree, but that was the first series that I actually finished, that I actually fully finished and watched all of Dragon Balls, and I never like missed an episode on. And for me, I liked it. I mean, there are a couple of things, like I said, that I agree with people on that were not it and just not cool at all. Mainly been the Super Saiyan thing with the tingly bang sensation. You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna talk about that, but yeah, like for the most part, aside from those little minor gripes and details that I thought were kind of like stupid and dumb, I, I enjoyed the series and I enjoyed new transformations and all that, and new little techniques in the fight and all that. I mean, I do understand that people say that it could probably get repetitive with like seeing them just like do the same little things where I float and all that, but I thought it was overall still pretty cool because like it's still pretty much the same Dragon Ball S type fighting. I will say though that in the original Dragon Ball, I think there was more like technique used and more like scenes where it seemed like they were actually fighting and all that compared to like as in our modern Dragon Ball series where they just kind of like zip around and do a couple of like little drawn out little moves and all that and like keep doing those things where like beaming in and out of like our sight and all that with the little like Z vanishing and all that. But yeah, third I would definitely have to say Dragon Ball because I did watch it, never finished it, but I wanted to and I tried to, but I just never got around to it. And I love that series to death. And if I did finish it or see more of it, it probably would be above Super, but I didn't, so I can't put it any higher. And as for the last, GT for me is gonna have to be the one. Well, actually, yeah. Well, no, because I did see a little bit of Dragon Ball. I don't know what's called Heroes or Legends or something like that. That non-canon one that showed all of
Dragon
like the
Ball
little.
Heroes.
Yeah. That one that showed all the different variations of like the characters coming and all that. That one there, I really liked because it was just a bunch of fan service and all that. Now, as far as story wise goes, I don't know. I mean, I did hear about like the demons getting involved and all that, and I thought it was a cool concept, but I haven't gotten far enough to like really judge. But I will put it above GT. I will say because for the amount of time I did see it, I'm still trying to like finish it and get back on that and finish it. I loved it because everything else seemed really good. And finally, I'm gonna have to put in GT Dead Last. Of course, it was all coming. Everybody's seen it. But I will say though that the greatest thing that I know that came out of GT was has to be Super Saiyan 4. Still love it to this day, even if it is weaker than God or God Blue and all that. It's still a fucking amazing and cool ass unique concept and transformation compared to the rest. And it's overall different compared to anything else we've seen so far, which makes it that much cooler to me. And I did like a couple of the villains in GT as well, being Baby and Omega Shenron. And as far as stories goes, I can't really speak on that, but there are some good things about GT that I did enjoy. And of course, I'm sure a lot of people or some people enjoyed those same parts that I just mentioned, you know, especially the one about Super Saiyan 4. But for me, at least right now, that would be had to be my list because that's how I rank them based off of my experience and what I watched.
That is very interesting. Your ranking differs from mine, and that's okay. Because from everyone else watching this, I'm sure their rankings will also differ as well.
Probably everybody's gonna agree about Z being the best though. And it's funny because that just so happens to be the most meme-worthy one of them all, with all the memes that come out with it.
Well, I like Dragon Ball Z. It is the top one, but it's not
Hmm.
for any of the memes.
Yeah,
It's because, for the most part, it felt like a perfect sequel, if that makes sense.
it did. It did. I like the way it turned out, especially from seeing Goku grow up from a kid to being grown. That was cool. I just wish I finished off the Dragon Ball series so I can see him as a young adult and as a teenager.
For me personally, Dragon Ball Z, of course, would be at the top.
Yep.
Next up, after that, I would have to say would be the OG Dragon Ball.
Yeah. And why do you say that one? Did you finish that entire series? I know I didn't.
I have not. But however, what I will say is that the presentation of everything, it definitely feels nice, nostalgic, and it is definitely a pretty good foundation from
It's,
within the comedic value of it and everything. Everything just it feels nice as a very good series. It is just well written.
yeah, I will say that GT probably. I mean, like no, not GT, but the original Dragon Ball was probably maybe one of the more better written ones of the series. 'Cause Z would be a close second, but I know a couple of people are gonna mention like a part one scene talking about something. Well, why did Goku give Cell to Sesame? And that's where they may be like, okay, that was dumb. And I understand that, and I know a lot of people have their own theories about that situation, but I do agree that and think that Dragon Ball, the OG Dragon Ball, at least had like a lot of good writing towards it, and to me, it had a lot more grounded and cool like fighting scenes as compared to as compared to the more fast paced and quick fighting scenes that we have nowadays, which is still cool, but you wish you could see like the little cool techniques and all that more often than you do in the newer ones.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Now, within the rest of my list, I didn't actually necessarily put together the um overall ranking of the new Super Dragon Ball heroes. But however, if I do, I would go ahead and place that right in the middle of Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball GT.
Yeah, makes sense.
But however, I do want to mention that these three series are literally neck and neck within the positions. If anything, I would say there is a point 0.2 second differential between everything. And so And so right after the original Dragon Ball, it would be Dragon Ball Super, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, and then GT.
Yeah, sounds solid to me. Sounds solid to me.
Now, another question that I do wish to go ahead and ask you fairly quickly right now is, could you tell me your top three favorite anime of all time?
Ooh, that is a hard one because there are a lot of series that I like a lot, and I can't really like choose one. I will say though that Dragon Ball is definitely one of them, since that's one of the main ones I started off with. Regardless of how many people said like, oh, there's so many other different good anime out there. Dragon Ball is definitely one of them because that's something I grew up with. As for the rest, I mean, I would like to say Bleach, but the only reason like I got into that is because like I came back, so I finally decided to give it a chance after like years of like putting it off. So I thought it was bad, but when I actually like watched it, it was actually decent. But you know what? Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna put Bleach up there because Bleach. I really like now the Bleach. I actually really like the story of Bleach and the come up and like the cool ass fights and all of that and the story to it. I will say that Ichigo does have some. Well, it seems like he does have some saying in him because that man all he needs a little bit of training for a week or something like that, and that man immediately boosting up there, which is crazy to me. But that has to be one of them as well. So I say Bleach, Dragon Ball, and what else? That's a tough one. And this is in no specific order either because there's a lot that I do like. And I'm usually more of a fan of like the dark, grittier shows. A series, well, I don't know if I have an exact third one because there are a lot that I like, but I'll just leave it off as two that I can think of right now that I really did enjoy, that I wish continued or like that I could see more of, which would be, oh no, I do have a third one. Black Lagoon. That is by far one of my favorite series. I remember rewatching that series over and over. I could even rewatch it right now, honestly. I'm gonna have to say that Black Lagoon is probably my number one top favorite, and below that would probably have to be Bleach because I do think the storytelling in Bleach is like a little bit better than Dragon Balls, but it's I like them for different reasons. But I'm about to say Black Lagoon, Bleach, and Dragon Ball. But all of them are great shows. But I will say I love Black Lagoon like with a passion. That show, I don't know. So I'm more into like darker, like more real and serious type of themes. And Black Lagoon had all of those. And action and even comedy in it. So those are my top three favorite anime of all time.
Mm, quite a very strong and sturdy list there. Now, for me, I would like to go ahead and say that my top three favorite anime of practically all time would be Inuyasha, number one,
Yep.
Demon Slayer,
Yep. Seen that one coming as well. What the third one
and
is.
I will actually go ahead and say Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball.
I thought you was about to say Jujutsu Kaisen, bro.
Mm, see that comment right there. I will have to go ahead and give us a closing send off with all seven Dragon Balls. Eternal Dragon, I summon you forth to grant my wish. We would like to trade Akira Toriyama for Juice WRLD's ex girlfriend.
Oh God. Rest in peace to Akira Toriyama. And hopefully he has no more pain and suffering, and hopefully he live in lavish up there. Glad to be here to talk to you about the unfortunate death the unfortunate death of Akira Toriyama, and we all know he'll be remembered fondly. So, anime community, stay up, and just be strong, because I'm sure he's in a better place now.